woman hours to do her hair and put on the 5 to 10 pounds of expensive corsets, petticoats, and outer garments necessary to be seen in public. Now, simple, affordable fashions could be bought in any department store.
Because for women, the big thing in advertising of the 1920s was make a woman feel guilty. So, advertising for cosmetics was, are you beautiful enough for your husband? Are your hands soft enough? Are you getting wrinkles? Is your hair getting gray? Is he going to be looking at his cute little secretary in the office? Well, what you need is a little lipstick and rouge and a little hair dye, and then you too can be a woman that your husband will be proud to be seen with.
Magazines, beauty contests, modeling, and the movies provided the role models. In 1921, Clara Bow would turn the screen test she won in a Photoplay magazine photo contest into a major movie career.
She has her own sense of style. She can be assertive. She's the one who manipulates things. She controls the action, and she wins in the end.
Movies brought fantasies to life, provided a dream world of opulence and adventure, mystery and love. They mocked the old Victorian notions of respectability, class distinctions, and female purity.
Even small towns had movie theaters. People in the 20s, especially young people, flocked to the movies, and they claimed that they learned a great deal. Young men claimed they learned how to kiss by watching movies. Certain kinds of stars were emulated and became celebrities. How they smoked a cigarette or how they held their head became patterned, became mimicked by all the people that went to the movies. So the 20s saw the great expansion of the movie industry.
It's hard now to recognize just how controversial the movies were back in the 1920s. Comic Charlie Chaplin thumbing his nose at authority. Film flappers Clara Bow and Joan Crawford dancing and flirting. Rudolph Valentino and John Gilbert making women swoon with their smolderingly passionate gazes. Talk about assaults on traditional family values. This was risque stuff. By the 1920s, movies were the most powerful and influential medium of culture in the U.S. The movies were not only giving Americans new heroes and heroines, but also redefining beauty and masculinity. On screen and off, the stars provided the new role models of a mass consumer society. They served as the nation's leisure experts, living in lavish mansions, driving expensive cars, falling in and out of love and marriage. The movies and its stars also celebrated the exciting commercial nightlife and new music of the nation's cities. For if the silent screen provided the images of the new consumer society, then jazz provided its sound. Like the decade itself, jazz was fast, loud, and raucous, uninhibited, joyous, and highly controversial. It came from the dance halls and clubs of an oppressed people, African Americans from the nation's South, who had been flooding into northern cities since the First World War. Born in New Orleans, jazz traveled up the Mississippi to Kansas City and the south side of Chicago, then moved on to New York City's Harlem. By the early 1920s, Harlem was the largest black community in the country and the center of black commerce and culture, the likes of which the nation had never seen. Here could be found Marcus Garvey and his Universal Negro Improvement Association, the largest black organization in the history of the nation. A black printer from Jamaica who came to New York in 1916, Garvey built a following of more than 500,000 members by championing racial pride, economic independence, and self-rule. In his African Orthodox church, worshippers could glorify a black Christ and a black Virgin Mary. The pomp and spectacle of his many auxiliary organizations, like the Universal Black Cross Nurses and Black Eagle Flying Corps, appealed to the pride of working-class African Americans, whom Garvey encouraged to establish and support their own businesses. In the 1920s, Harlem was also the main center of the New Negro, the name given to a new generation of African American city dwellers who were prosperous, independent, and self-assured. Here, too, was a flowering of African American arts and letters known as the Harlem Renaissance. Writers and artists who spoke in an African American voice about African American lives.
We young and Negro artists who create now intend to express our individual dark-skinned selves without fear or shame. If white people are pleased, we are glad. If they are not, it doesn't matter. Langston Hughes, poet and novelist.
Many young white Americans were pleased. Jazz drew white patrons to illegal bars called speakeasies and to the black and tan clubs of Harlem, where they could flaunt the law by drinking bootleg booze and watch floor shows of scantily clad dancers.
And whites would go into Harlem and enjoy the music, the creativity of African Americans. The Cotton Club, for example, served white patrons exclusively. African Americans could perform in these clubs. They could not sit in the audience.
Broadcasting live from the Cotton Club, radio carried the sounds of Duke Ellington and his orchestra into homes throughout the nation. Downtown, Cecil and Blake's Shuffle Along became the first black musical to make it on Broadway. On records, Bessie Smith's soulful blues won the hearts of white and black listeners.
Bessie Smith, who is often called the Empress of the Blues, perhaps personified blues women of the era. And to understand blues women, they represented creativity and lower class strivings. The songs that Bessie Smith and other women sang, they sang about the hardships, about love lost, about the difficulties of being black.
White musicians also took up jazz and blues, reaching even broader audiences. Radio and records spread the new sounds far and wide, permanently transforming American music. Young Americans embraced the black-derived music and dance forms as their own. But not everyone was pleased with the new music or movies or any of the other offerings of the new mass consumer culture.
Dancing instructor Fenton T. Bott voiced the concerns of many Americans, both black and white, about the evil influences of jazz. Its primitive rhythms, the savage crash and bang, many people believed was seducing American youths into temptation and sin.